Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hi.
It feels like we just did this yesterday.
It does just feel like we did this yesterday because we did. This is This and That. We are going to discuss all things for the 2020 European Figure Skating Championships. Lots happened in 24 hours. I don't know. I got a flat tire, Jonathan. It was...
Oh, no.
It's okay. It's taken care of. We're good. AAA, it all...
Okay.
All these things happen in suburbia. Okay. Yes.
Okay, yeah. See, I have plenty of problems on the MTA, but a flat tire is not normally one of them.
I know. It's all right. It's all good. It's taken care of. Okay.
And I want to say something. You wore that beautiful black turtleneck with the red stripe. Do you remember that? Was that for our preview show?
It was, and my boyfriend Matteo Rizzo was wearing a very similar sweater.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And now you're kind of in another iteration of red and black that I feel like Matteo Rizzo must be wearing at his next event.
You know, he's one of my favorites. So, great taste. You know, it's...
Clearly, great minds.
I mean, although I have to tell you, Matteo, I would never wear those frickin' Adea. And after the short program, you shouldn't either, okay?
Well, with the fraying on the front. Okay, we'll get into it.
I mean, tacky, okay?
You didn't even tell everybody to smash the like button yet. I'm totally jumping.
Oh my God, this is This and That. For those of you who are new here, please subscribe below and smash that like button to let us know that you like our sweaters. All right. So, yes, let's start. Well, I feel like you have a lot of feelings. Let's just go to the men's event so that we can just...
Oh, all the feelings, yeah. But I'm gonna keep them in check, and I'm gonna let you curate the order in which we go.
This was the championship for the emotional boys. There were Europeans.
Count me among them.
Okay, there were a lot of all Europeans of all different shapes, sizes, colors, emotions, tier styles. Yes, okay. Let's go with Kevin Emos. Okay, it has been quite the season. He's a very emotional skater.
Which is why we love him, but we know it's a wild card at times.
I mean, the technique is real wonky, but it seems like he's very tied to Sylvia, and it's been on the straight and narrow.
And I feel like his incredible content this year has made him a success in spite of his jumping technique, not because of his jumping technique,
and
right?
He's got some wild skating at times. He's very French. You know, it's... Yeah. But very fun, very enjoyable, fan favorite. Mm-hmm. I have to say, they always talk about skating being a mental game, and unclear exactly what is going on here. I had a couple of thoughts. I mean, the obvious thought is everyone's thought goes to John and Sylvia, the situation.
The rink dynamic,
yes. I think it's possible that played a role, but I don't think that is the sole...
This could have happened even without that situation.
Yes. So
same actually with Haven and Brendan. I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Well, I think he's going for a Europeans medal, and I think that they were going for a national title / spot in the world team. I think in this kind of situation, you're going against people that maybe weren't as prepared earlier in the season, who are naturally better at peaking. The Russians really have it more down to a science at times, and I think maybe I'd be very curious to know how the practice sessions went and what happened there at Europeans, and not reading too much about them, unclear, but sometimes some of the skaters lose it in the practice, and seeing how good the other men looked here, he may have, dealing with his own insecurities that everyone has, that you kind of have to keep in check on a practice. Who knows? It could be injury, but it did seem like this was a mental thing. He's done so well all season, and you just wonder...
Because again, a fall on the quad, he still could have been in it. Mm-hmm. It was really that Lutz moment. Even the fall on the axle, it was devastating. Maybe winning the title was off the line, but he still could have been in the running had he just done some sort of combo.
Yeah, I wonder, what do you think his hope, or what was he expecting to place here? Was he expecting to win, just go for medal? You wonder if he started to think about results, and then everything started to spiral.
Well, it's interesting because we talked about this a lot in the national show about when people realize what they're actually capable of. And it seems like so many of these skaters must be so hard on themselves or such perfectionists that sometimes they forget that they could actually place well if they show up. It seems a lot of people forget that it's a possibility for them. But maybe by now he's really started to realize it, and it's created a whole new set of issues for him.
Yeah, because sometimes when you know what results can have, that's when your mind starts to play all sorts of tricks on you, and it's very hard to block that out. And it happens. It's happened to everyone.
No.
And I would say that I wonder if there was a lot of that, coming in here, perhaps didn't have his blinders on, was more focused maybe on the result than on the process and all of the external stuff going on. That to me, because I expect to see him rebound and skate well at the World Championships.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I felt this was going to now push him to one extreme or the other for Worlds. I either felt we are going to see him nail as best as he can, or we're going to see him not make the long at Worlds in some weird fluke thing.
It could do that. That
I don't see him middling. I see him really going one way or the other.
It can be good to have a bad performance to then get the pressure off. And at the end of the day, who cares about the Europeans if you skate well at Worlds and place in the top 10?
Agreed.
Who cares? It could go that way. Hearing from people in Florida, he tends to be more emotional on practices. He's a more emotional trainer, more ups and downs, definitely relies on,
which is what makes it so exciting. But that's probably a problematic thing when you want to. The thing I used to love about Frank was when he would say, it's just like practice, trust. But we see some of these more volatile skaters that probably don't have something to trust in that moment.
It's why Marta does not like the criers, the theatrics in training. You must control emotions, you're right?
Yeah.
She would not put up with this BS from him because this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
So
or go cry, but come back and you got to do it. Go cry it out, and then come back and do it. Mm-hmm. I think there's a theme, because I tend to like the people who cry.
I mean, we all do. They're all more.
Are you a crier? I'm a crier, Dave.
I'm not a crier. I was a crier as a kid. Okay,
and I wasn't.
So I was a big crier as a kid. Like, always a big perfectionist, but but always like a lot of anxiety tears.
Okay.
But I think I conditioned myself not to be like that over time, because I was a real crybaby as a kid. So, couldn't find mom when we, walk out of the school, immediately start panic and cry. Right?
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So I feel that you do that enough, and I danced growing up, so you get made fun of, you develop a thick skin quickly. You just learn to steel yourself, and I think a lot of that happened. Maybe it's the way I am. This is a real therapy session, but
and how does that make you feel, Dave? Yeah, okay.
It makes me feel like sometimes I wish I would cry more in a movie, so I'm like, am I dead inside? What's happening? But but then also, my friend Michael McDonald cries during every movie, and then that becomes a lot,
Yeah, it's two extremes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Get it together.
I feel Kevin is going to go at Worlds, one extreme or the other.
Yes. So I think that Kevin will be an extreme at Worlds one way or the other. Ugh.
Sad. It was just devastating. And I'm sure in those moments that kind of like, what just happened? I'm sure there was total shell shock there.
Frank would be furious with this kind of behavior. These theatrics, these tears, the kiss and cry. Oh.
Arguably, Frank would have prepared differently, so something like this may not have ever happened.
Frank would have given him a stern talking to with any of those theatrics in the rink. You could just imagine what is happening if we.
He would have looked at that French team jacket in the garbage can and just kept on walking.
He really would have. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my goodness, poor Kevin though. So
I know.
You're thinking a bomb at Worlds. You're thinking a bomb at Worlds.
I think it's possible. I just see someone with such high highs and such low lows that I think this is going to be a polarizing thing for him. And I hope it goes well. I hope he channels everything and delivers an incredible product at Worlds. But I think it's just as possible. I think it's 50-50. He could go and bring these demons with him.
So you really weren't a crier growing up?
No, but man, am I one now.
Really?
Oh my God.
Because when I was growing up, like, we used to have to cut out, like, pictures from a magazine based on the letters. And of course, I always did my homework. But if I forgot it on my nightstand and didn't bring it in, and then Mrs. Zuckerbrod was so scary in kindergarten. She was really too scary for children. She was the mean teacher that I had.
Okay.
But I kind of liked her, I guess. But I, forgot it, and then I remember I would have to like go, because I only had like one phone in the school back in 1991 when I was in kindergarten in the fall. And, you'd have to like call and be like, Mom, can you bring my letter? So like, the tears, because of course the school secretary was also scary. So probably had to do things like remember my phone number, probably like was like stressing about that. So.
I see, and I was the one that probably hung out in the school office wanting to have lunch with the secretaries instead of anyone in my class. That was me. Okay. I'd be like, hi, Betty, how are things at home with the kids?
There are videos of me in kindergarten running like this. John and I learned how to run like that. There was a lot happening. Okay, we toughened up quickly.
For me, it was crossing the legs. It was crossing the legs. I always crossed them from day one.
I crossed them too. I used to see my mom watch The Young and the Restless. She would cross the legs. I think I copied it. Oh, no. Still crossing the legs years later.
Look at the TSL intro. These things stay with you.
They really do. Okay.
They really do.
Oh my goodness. All right.
And I think that sometimes, now I'm just oversharing, but because I posted the Instagram feed, it was so cute when Artur Danielian was looking to Boyanova for approval when he realized his result. Yes. And he realized it before she did. So he's looking at her like, right? And she's giving him nothing. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh no, don't be withholding from this poor kid. And then she realized, and she was able to enjoy with him, and they like enjoyed this thing together. And I think of Jason and Tracy, and I think of Kevin and Sylvia. And I think
but Tracy doesn't seem scary.
No, but there's a maternal thing.
Tracy seems like she'd be like, Jason,
you're special.
You can do that quad toe. Jason, go do it.
And I believe Jason is motivated by that more than someone else. And Thierry blatantly has said, I don't like men because sometimes that's what they require.
Oh my goodness. I know. I saw my old skating coach the other day, a strong maternal type figure, and she was... But I asked her which of the men that she was liking. She gave me all the wrong answers, okay? Oh, I like it Samarin. Oh, Dave. Oh, and I was like, you like it, Kosternaya? I like it, but I Tukta Misheva. Oh, Tukta Misheva. Oh, I respect.
You're like in an ironic kind of way?
No,
you mean for real. Yeah, okay.
She more skinny, more jumping. Oh, jumps good. I like it. And I was like... because in Russian culture, she got skinny and is now jumping. So now Natasha likes
she is the winner.
And I was like, I paid you way too much money to like guide my skating for you to like these people.
I put too much trust in your opinion.
What the hell? I'm like, oh dear God. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen the text she sent you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
Mm-hmm. You're doing great.
You're doing great, Natasha. It's okay. So anyway.
but devastating for Kevin. Devastating for Kevin. And I hope turns it around. That was
talking about like my sons here. There were several that I felt maternal love for.
Yeah.
My little brother Matteo Rizzo.
Yeah. Oh, but what did he make any comment about his boot? Because
he did not. And I thought that Medvedeva could learn from him.
It looked shredded. It was distracting.
In the short, it opened up. Did you not see that when he picked for the toe on his combo, that boot was open. Okay.
See, I wasn't noticing it on the short, but I couldn't help but notice. And I'm sure it was happening in the short, but I really noticed it in the long. And if I were the referee, these people that have their name on the line, I would have been like, come over here and show me that boot so I know we're not going to have a situation.
So you can see it in the short, too. When he was skating, and it was quite apparent. You could see it like fly open on the spin even, but when he did the combo and he under-rotated the second half, I just wondered if it was in his head causing a tentativeness more than anything. I don't know the actual like what was happening with the boot, if he could put full pressure at any moment, but I wondered if it was in his head. But I thought, what a testament to him that obviously if he was not in danger, if he's in danger, that's, it becomes something else. But if he was able to do it, but think about how much mental toughness he displayed, because he would have had to have known that his boot was off, and he was not, making
even more than toughness. It was a cool. He just was like in the moment, mm-hmm. kind of doing what he could, and there was something really encouraging about that.
Yeah, when I
he's a lovely skater with some really nice qualities, and it's interesting to compare him to Grossel, who obviously has some incredible content.
I get a steady, focused vibe from him. He seemed to know exactly what he wanted to add to his skating when he seems to be very much in control of what he wants to do and then figuring it out.
And I don't think he's done harm to his reputation this season, but I think he could have made a big step forward that unfortunately didn't quite happen for him this season.
Well, I think results-wise it hasn't been a step forward, but I think if you look at his skating, he's put the quad toe in quite consistently. He's tried other elements. He could have had a better result here, but I kind of think that it's maybe not going to get him the 7th place at Worlds, the spoils of last season, but I do think he's better positioned to go for the Olympics to add the more difficult content moving forward.
And the PCS is pretty solid. The judges appreciate what he's doing, for sure.
I don't think he's ever going to be one of those skaters that's going to have every single quad, right? Like, he just doesn't look to have the raw power of someone like Nathan Chen, but
quite frankly, the body type. It's a very different body type than even countrymate Daniel, who has that kind of Nathan, Vincent, Hanyu kind of frame.
From a line of ice dancers, okay? They're not that quick twitch or something.
But I mean, so it's even more impressive to me because, sometimes when you see that body type, it's almost like cheating.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be more apt to do it.
Well, yeah, but he seems very controlled. He pays attention to the details. A nice all-around skater. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see maybe something with a little more musical passion and feeling next season.
Some personality, because I feel like he has one, and they didn't necessarily choose repertoire that showcased it as much.
Yeah, but he does seem very centered and focused. So maybe we can bring more out of him, more showmanship, more...
Again, because given Canada's vulnerability right now, Italy, France... these are countries that could really make a moment in a team event here. And with the Italian ice dancers, pairs, and the men, I don't know. They might be in the mix if they kind of organize themselves.
He seems very, classy, subdued Italian. Usually we're used to, spicy Italian, like Valentino.
Wild.
Or Jersey Italian. He's definitely a different breed. Okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like the Italians want to be when they're like, I'm Italian.
Yeah.
Anyone who tells you that they're Italian, it's not that kind of Italian. Okay?
Right, exactly. It's more Italian. Yeah.
Italian. My grandparents always told us about the Italians. Okay?
It's a thing.
My sister, you're marrying an Italian.
Good luck. Yeah.
My aunt married the first non-Polak, and he was an Italian. My grandfather just painted that living room. Uncle Al comes over, puts his head back, ring of grease on the wall.
At least everybody's Catholic, right? That's what they were
Everyone
thinking.
was Catholic. He told that story for the next 40 years. Okay. So he loved him. All right.
Mm-hmm. That's why they had the plastic on the
That's why they did have the plastic. Of course, they had the plastic.
Exactly.
They did. They had all that anxiety. Okay, it's fine.
But not Linda's family, not Linda Frediani. Remember,
she was offended when I asked that question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come on, Linda. What's?
Just putting it in an era. Yeah.
Come on, Linda. What are you talking about, tape? Oh my goodness. Speaking of Linda, did you see that USFS article today where David Wraith said that skating doesn't have a cultural problem of sexual abuse and grooming? And then Ashley Wegner goes, that's so interesting considering that I talked to him face to face about this.
You guys, every time they talk, they make it worse.
They do.
Just stop talking.
Apparently there were a lot of people that Christine was interviewing that didn't know how to handle her because it's a very amateur hour-ish group of people, even though they like to act like they are very important.
And Christine is a real person
Yeah.
who's thinking logically and then asks questions accordingly, and they can't, when it bursts their bubble of like fake canned answers of non-substance, they don't know what to do. It's terrible.
Somehow I was tagged in a post where they were yelling at her for...
Her, Christine?
Yes, they were yelling at her today, and I was tagged in a post where they were yelling at Christine. First of all, I have nothing to do with Kobe Bryant. I haven't tweeted about Kobe Bryant. Like, I had not posted. But they were mad that she brought up about his, sexual assault allegations back in 2003.
But there is that. That is a part of his story.
But that is a part of his story. And when a famous celebrity dies, they do bring that up. They will bring up the fact that Bill Clinton was impeached with Monica Lewinsky when he inevitably passes away. That is something that will be brought up. Michael Jackson, we brought up the plastic surgery. We brought up, come on, it was like every night on CNN, we learned a new detail about Demerol. Right. Were you riveted? I was watching CNN constantly, Jonathan, okay?
Okay. I don't know where I was when he died. I was somewhere.
Well, I could tell you. I was going into the city, and I was going to have dinner with Elkin and Louis DeCesare, and we wound up going to the club Splash that used to be open in New York. And we wound up dancing to Michael Jackson. It was we ate at cafeteria, went dancing at Splash. They were playing
gayest evening ever. Yeah.
It was the gayest. Well, it allowed us to listen to Michael's songs again because we hadn't listened to them for quite a long time after the allegations. And for a night, it was fun. And then it was problematic again. So,
yes, for sure. You had a brief hiatus. Yeah.
You had a brief hiatus.
Where you could just listen to the music guilt-free, and then you had to be guilty about it again.
I know, but it's what happened. I think today everyone's trying to celebrate Kobe's basketball prowess, but
again, it's a full story. There's
story. I would Google it. There's quite the settlements, and I actually read those basketball books by.
I did not.
11 Rings. So it was in Mind Games about him. So anyway, getting back, lots of fun things happening. But
I know.
I digress. Daniel Grossel, landing all of these quads. Jonathan, he is so impressive. Such a young...
The Vincenzo of Europe.
Yes.
In a way.
You knew where I was going with this.
Yeah. That I have to tell you, I'm a sucker for a quad loop, even though we did get the under rotation call in the short. I am a sucker. I love seeing them. I think it's exciting when it happens because it doesn't happen with that much frequency. It was interesting to me that he did the 3 different quads and chose not to repeat any. His center of gravity is too high for me.
He's very sloppy, and the skating skills are very weak. So
it's tough. But at least his coaches knew to get rid of that. He used to have the bleeding bullet hole shirt. At least they fixed that, which was much appreciated. And he got the old Benoit, we don't know what to do with you, so let's call Benoit kind of treatment there. But this is a real jumping talent. And actually, as a secondary Italian man, could really help them in the team event come Beijing.
Benoit seems very nice, right? He lives in black and white. He seems like a very...
And it's clearly where you go if you have a trouble situation. So I do feel for him.
He seems a little bit eccentric. Maybe someone that you'd be friends with at one of your cocktail parties. But could he look any stranger with the black hat going on, like we're going to a rodeo in the middle of...
With that clean shave, like head and neck
Does
underneath
he not look like
with
a
the
serial
earring.
killer? Or like what that...
Or do you remember Spy versus Spy, that cartoon? Like there was almost like that kind of quality to it. Yeah.
It's a very strange vibe happening in the Kiss and Cry. He's a real personality in skating. Yeah. What is happening?
But very artistic. Yeah.
He really is.
And in that Laurie way, having the choreographer sit with you is really there for propaganda purposes.
Well, I think they also see... The choreographer can tend to offer a lot of emotional support. Usually you go there, you're in the middle of hard training... Your coach is probably telling you that you're fat, you can't land anything, you're not special, you're grinding it out and you're beaten down, and then you get a new program and they reinvigorate you and they make you fall in love with skating and feel special. So they tend to have that different relationship with certain skaters.
But let's talk about Daniel's short program because... So he was second in the long, right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't enough to pull him all the way up because he ended up 4th. Because he was 11th after the short. So I went back to watch the short again because I thought, well, this must have been a disaster. But it really wasn't. They were giving him under rotation calls, some that I thought were a little harsh. I mean, you could justify the call, but it didn't seem in line necessarily with everyone else's. Because then when I went and I watched Morris's short program, and he full-blown fell and was third after the short. I was.
And Morris has that funky ass technique on his jumps.
He really does. And it certainly is not so much more of an artist. I mean, the point gap was pretty close. You know, even though Daniel was 11th, he wasn't that many points away from everybody else. But I was really surprised that they kind of just dumped Daniel and
Daniel doesn't get a lot of GOE and doesn't get a lot of components. And I wouldn't say that it's unfair.
No, but I don't know that Morris deserves...
Well, Morris has a Terry behind him, Jonathan.
Oh, bingo.
Welcome to skating.
But you would think that, like, in the male category, they're allowed to just... And since he's representing Georgia, like, anything goes. Like, just Samarin or something, yeah.
Julin was fighting for the Spanish team here.
Don't get me started on him yet. I got to ease into that.
Okay. What do you mean? You think Russia and Georgia are just going to let things go by? Like, what is this? Jonathan, this is not your first time watching skating, okay?
That's right. But I just thought no one gave, like, a hoot, I guess I'll say, about
Terry had
Georgia
like a shady
and
kind of post about Morris finally, delivering for the family. Like, I mean, it was...
Oh, okay.
You finally did something. It was...
Yeah.
Come on.
She's yeah.
There's that entrance where he scrapes that toe pick. I mean, that technique is real awful.
And hunches so far over to do it. It's something. It's something.
God, but... Daniel Grossel. When I see Benoit, though, in the Kiss and Cry, it doesn't give me... Maybe it helps. I don't know if it helps. To me, I usually know what I'm about to expect. I'm like, I
think, they've hired Benoit. It means this guy's a tough watch. They're worried about it. Yeah.
Would it be even worse if they didn't have Benoit there? That's what I can't figure out. But to me, it does telegraph that this is going to be a rough watch. Okay, this is...
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, you're hiring Benoit to help hide, not help teach. Where I think people who do go to someone like Laurie are doing it because they're trying to actually learn something. They're trying to actually improve the skills so the score gets better. And I think the strategy behind Benoit is Benoit knows how to mask the weakness more easily. So they're not going to learn it, but maybe you won't notice it as much.
I'm sure Ted... who was the commentator here? This person...
The worst. And when we get to ice dance, like, it was calling it as if it was a radio. Like, he'd be like, there she is in a red dress. And I was like, yeah, I know, we're watching. Like, what kind of commentary is that?
He was often behind on the jumps on the replays as he was talking, and I was getting very confused about what was happening.
Yeah,
but
very strange.
The worst, I actually was getting texts from people that they preferred Ted to whoever this commentator was. So
I would have, because at least Ted is quiet during the program itself. And this guy would just chime in and be like, they're doing okay. And you're like, thanks for the update. Please be quiet.
Why can't we just have Mark Reddy speak? The person should be British, right? Whoever speaks should be British.
Always. Just as a general rule. And if Vanessa Riley isn't available, please have Mark Reddy.
Mark at least can give you information, and he usually gives a point of view. Even occasionally we don't agree, but we are 99% of the time we are on board. And that would
it's insightful, it's kind, it's observant, it's
how about
all of those things.
Like Robin Cousins. He could do it from his living room, okay? He doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Just hire someone. ISU, make it British. They're kind of the Switzerland of skating, even though they're really not.
Someone was saying it was Chris, but obviously that was not Chris because it wasn't Chris's voice. And Chris does have insight, even if it's just sort of broadly positive. But he at least knows what he's talking about. This guy was a real tough listen.
It was a rough one. Okay.
And if you are subscribing to this feed, you know what you're doing. You're not a casual fan. Like, you can talk to us like regular people.
I know.
So, yeah, that was tough.
And it's not like we're watching the kindergarten championships where we need Ted. I mean, that's just... it's not happening. Okay? Yeah. I can't. Okay.
Although it basically was Russian nationals, so we might as well have come back to do round 2.
Well, it was okay. I'm sure Ted was watching.
Yeah, I'm sure he was too.
Maybe he was giving the guy pointers as it was going along. All right. Well, let's start with my son. Because my son has really developed so much this season, okay?
Artur?
Yes.
I love him. I love his skating.
I know. He is just sugar and spice and everything nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a little bit weird on the axle takeoff. 2 out of the 3 axles. But he did fight for them. But I cannot believe how good he's gotten at the quad salchow. I don't know why I'm hugging this pillow. This pillow is like an emotional support pillow tonight. I don't know why.
It's your Sylvia. It's your Tracy.
I don't know why. I think I'm just very tired, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. This is holding me up. Okay.
I'll get one too.
Okay.
Okay, great. I feel thinner already. I do that at every party. I like go sit on like a love seat somewhere and just grab a throw pillow and just put it in front of my stomach. That's what I do.
Jonathan, you're getting very anorexic. It's very thin.
Oh, thank you for saying that, but it's not
Jonathan,
true.
you gotta eat. We went to a
honey,
restaurant and someone offered Jonathan bread, and they kept offering him bread, and he really did not want the bread, and he was getting mad about the bread. He was like,
I have to have rules because I work in extremes, and if I don't have a piece of bread, I'd have a loaf. So I just have to know I just can't do it.
Oprah,
the rules
it's okay.
helped
Oprah, it's okay, all right?
And look at Oprah, God, same.
She's doing great now. She's figured out life, okay?
Okay.
Oh my God. So anyway, Artur Danilian, I think he's a dark horse for Worlds. Top 5 finish, top 6 finish.
Yeah. He's very special. And the quad, like you're saying, has become very solid in an exciting way. And Brianna was putting her money where her mouth is. She has developed a real artist here. Like, I still have some leftover taste in my mouth about that Radionova stuff. Like, this is some really beautiful skating that he's doing, and I really enjoy his posture and his attention to detail, and the programs are nice.
And a lot of it is the assistant coach, as the assistants usually do a lot of the work in.
As in the Russian Priscilla Hill, that woman?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because they're doing a great job with him.
Her name is Marina Silitskaya, okay? Because that people are going to want to comment that in there,
yeah.
Okay? And she's actually listed as the first coach in his bio over Buyana.
Okay.
So she really is doing
And they did have a nice connection, but again, there was that one moment, and it was adorable. There's so many great kiss and cry moments here, where he was really looking to her to realize that he was meddling.
That quad salchow, Euler, triple salchow is so stunning. His air position is so beautiful. His extension is so stunning.
And it's so undeniably clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everything is so clean. The posture, the in-betweens. Next year, I'm hoping for a more Alex Johnson-y...
and I think they'll go there.
Yeah. I think
we
could do like
on a good track.
An Alex Johnson or John Curry-ish kind of program. I mean, he has the look. He has what's missing in Nathan Chen. He has that extra little... Like, when they talk...
It's that solar plexus thing. There's, like, energy that, like, radiates from his chest.
I think incredible. He has the ballet training like Nathan does, I have a feeling. He seems to exude some of those qualities. So I'll be very curious, because he does have all the right stuff going on for him. And his air position is beautiful. I don't think he has the raw power, but where he is going to rack up points is in the consistency, and it's in the grades of execution everywhere. So.
Yeah.
And it does seem, Russia being 1-2 at Europeans, getting people in the top 5 for the Worlds, they're making a real case for 2022, getting a man on the podium, I would think. And, that team gold medal, I would say Russia is certainly in...
I think right now there's no question that they've got it. Yeah.
But you have to think as we move ahead, this is where this is all leading. They are sweeping, Jonathan. You cannot take your eye off of the ball for 1 second because they are coming. Okay.
Right.
And we should all thank him for, Samarin is likely not going to Worlds, and we have 2 very beautiful watches at the World Championships. So, it's...
And that's the thing, not something that we always associated with Russian men. And their whole crop, I mean, even Kolyada, who's not... obviously competing this season, or who knows what'll happen in the future.
Blowing his nose somewhere, with the...
Exactly, crying and compacted. Yeah. But they're full of these exquisite artists. Thierry's really young one, the one who's very small. Also a beautiful, beautiful skater.
And Arseny Fedotov on the Ice Age, also a beautiful little skater from Materi. You have no idea who I'm talking about, but it's fine.
I don't. But I was like, if you think they are, then I'll go with you.
No, tell me about Dmitry Aliev, Jonathan. Lay it on me, okay? Lay it on me, all right?
Okay, first of all, so much purple in this event. And just like an operatic side note, it's considered very bad luck to ever perform in purple because purple is supposed to be reserved for royalty. In like an opera house, only royal families were supposed to be wearing purple in the theaters. So anytime you perform, it's considered gauche or bad luck to wear purple. But
is that why the Canadians missed their side-by-side jumps?
Just saying. And maybe why Dmitry got an under rotation on the quad lots.
He got it in the short, too. He has a little bit of a delay at the top when he gets into the jump. Even as good as his jumps are, he has the slightest bit of a delay in his snap into the rotation. Rather than Nathan, who snaps going up immediately, is rotating. So
right. Well, he's Karen Chenning it. Yeah,
I mean, not that bad, but
yeah.
Karen Chen is like it's a slow motion in the beginning. So.
That's right. Well, but it's also interesting because they clearly are aware of the situation because they pulled that quad lutz for a while in the short during the Grand Prix final in Russian Nationals, only to bring it back here. And I think it's good for him to keep getting the mileage with it. But again, talk about a crier. That immediate release of emotion at the end, and unlike Caitlin Weaver or a Marie France ice dancing girl, this was genuine. This wasn't to tell the judges they had a moment.
This wasn't Maya Shibutani at the end of the Coldplay.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they're not telling you that you should feel emotional. Also, this was a raw, vulnerable moment, and it was so endearing to watch. And in the kiss and cry, and then I had chills the whole time, even though this wasn't most magical choreography ever, even of his programs. He's done, in my opinion, far superior programs. But
he loves to do that 2-foot stance with his legs about 3 feet apart. They should have to
but with that open chest and like neck open, and it's just this. I don't know. To me, that's what it should be. That's what male skating should be, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. If you watch after the quad lutz, then he does the quad toe, and it's that period after the quad toe. You just watch the choreography in the free after that, and it's like he can't make one false move, and it's all motivated, and it's all full out, and it's emotional, and it's incredible. I just wish he went to Lambiel or something and worked on some spins. Because that's that last thing.
Do you think he's marking the spins? I want to watch his run-throughs because those spins were so slow. And I wondered if he leaves the spins out to focus on the jumps.
Because doesn't it seem like he should be able to spin?
It seems like he should. You know, we're not all spinners. He's certainly not.
Right.
I mean, those spins were a little slow. A little bit.
By any standard, let alone someone.
The camel was really slow. The sit, not so bad.
And the positions could probably be prettier, even. For someone who skates so beautifully and openly. I mean, this has been a really great season for him. I loved him as a junior.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. Oh, you're being facetious? Yeah. It's like, wait. But then, it was tough for a while there. But for it to have lined up as much for him this season as it has, he's really made headway.
He has.
Reputation-wise. And this win is huge for him. And I think even if Kevin showed up, Dmitry was always going to be a tough battle for Kevin to conquer.
And I don't think Kevin was in any danger of beating Dmitry. I really don't.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
Not at the Europeans. I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I mean, Grand Prix final though, like, I don't know where Aliev went during that event, but it was nice to see him come back so strongly here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
big fan.
All right. Well, let's go into the pair event because, okay, what is the chanting in Tarasova and Morozov's program? Because I never can hear it, and I get very confused, and there are times...
I know what it isn't. It's not a mantra that seems to help them.
No, but is it... But I'm like, why does that sound like stolat? And I'm like, that is not stolat, the Polish thing going on here. Like, what is...
Or it reminds me of that moment in Frozen 2 where all the rock trolls are chanting.
Didn't see Frozen 2, Jonathan. That's it.
Okay.
Do I need to see Frozen 2?
I've not seen Frozen 2. I mean, in the original Frozen, the trolls that do that chanting or whatever. I don't know. But I understand Marina's sentiment. I think she packaged their material very well this year. And it's a cover of something that
It's
predates.
Te Amo. It's a cover, but it doesn't sound like that when they're chanting.
Yeah, they're not. It's not Italian, I'll tell you that.
It's a rough watch.
Yeah.
Has Marina given up? Is this going to be a one-season wonder with Marina? She's not even putting a lot of effort into her kiss and cry theatrics. She really just seems...
I think she put the effort into giving them this material. Even though that free skate is very weird, I think she did that intentionally, and it could have, if skated well, made them seem more interesting than they are.
Does she have a more Russian flair when she goes Russian? Like, she seems to put it on, right? Like a chameleon. She seems to, like... Today I'll be more Russian. You know, we have some sort of weird chanting.
She seems unsure of how to behave, but maybe that's because of the way they're splitting up the power, and who knows.
Think she likes them at all, right?
I think they're probably tough to like after a while because they have everything, and then they seem to let it go in different ways every single time. But, What do you think about Aliona? Do you think Aliona could beat him into submission?
I think Aliona would just come back.
Instead of try to coach.
She'd be like, you're pathetic. Did you see her that she gifted? They gave a delayed present to Bruno. His son had we know that.
Porsche. Yeah.
So Bruno loves Porsches, and she gave the son a mini Porsche. I'm like, she is putting it on thick, okay? She really is wanting to come back. She is ready. Is he going to come back? Bruno, you cannot screw this up. Look at who you have to beat, okay? You're against Boykova and Kozlovsky. Her shoulders are literally as high as her ears. Not just because of bad posture, also anatomically. It's never going to get the GOE that you are getting, okay? They're a tough watch, all right? They do the most with what they got. They try. Moscovina is working overtime with this team. Mm-hmm. You're against Tarazova and Morozov. Guaranteed 2 mistakes in the program. Okay? Guaranteed.
You got this.
You got it. Okay. Eventually, the Russians are going to have to change the rules and be like, maybe we should have them put in a quad twist because this isn't working. Leveling it off and having everyone just do triples, they're still messing it up. We do have Boykova, but...
Well, here's the interesting thing about Boykova. I think he is a stunning skater. I think he's got some really beautiful lines. He's got great edges. And she seems like the ideal personality for a partner. She's going to be solid. She's not magical.
Don't you want a magical partner? I want a magical flower.
But look what they're able to do because she's so solid and steady and she'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think, for instance, Pavlyuchenko is so, like, my eye is drawn to her. She's beautiful. She is talented on her feet.
I can't do those free legs. I just don't like them at all. I have to say.
Well, and because I think he's so dreadful. Rodikin.
I think they're both dreadful. I don't know if it's the way they're choreographed. Is she matching him?
She's got a thing, and she's got a real air about her in the kiss and cry that tells me the vibe isn't quite right there. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think she's got a thing, and he looks, and I don't like to do this as someone whose weight yo-yos, but like he seems rather heavy for a competitive skater.
Doug Haw! I am supposed to yell at you when you make these comments, Jonathan, okay? I am going to get blamed. Then Ashley Kane is not even going to watch the episode when Doug Haw says something, and then I'm going to get yelled at for tall shaming, okay?
Yeah.
And I did not say this. I don't even like this pair. I am not calling him heavy. I think they tend to be a little bit short, if anything, and I am not into them, okay? But I don't think that he's heavy. I think he's fine, okay?
Okay, he is.
And you know why I think he's fine, Jonathan? Do you know why I think Hoydikin is fine? Because he's so freaking boring that I don't even have a picture of him in my brain. I do
because I feel like he takes away from her special qualities.
I feel like they just blend into the background of Russian genericness, and I'm like, bleh, okay?
See, and I think she's a diamond in the rough. I think if with the right partner, she could really make
He can't
more
be that fat. I don't even remember him, okay? And I
didn't say that.
I can spot an extra pound, Jonathan. So I disagree with you. And I would like everyone in the comments to say that I did not fat shame him because you know what?
I'm not shaming anyone.
I I boring shamed
what
him.
it does
Okay.
is boring shame because it changes the line. He seems more labored. He's not hitting very pretty positions. And again, I think
He's not that hideous. He doesn't stand out like a Brady Tennell where I feel bad when he skates, okay? Like, it's not that
But
wrong.
Brady Tennell's by herself. She's not next to someone else.
I know, I was trying to discuss this with Jane. Why is it that we all viscerally hated Rachel Flatt, yet kind of feel bad about Brady? Is it because Rachel Flatt, the mom pushed the PR so hard, and then she was so like in your face about the East of Eden stuff? There was like a real quality there that was.
You know what it is about Brady is that it's a testament to those who work hard that there is a place for you.
But I think Rachel Flatt worked hard. Is it also because we don't like Tom Z? There's also like he's a hard like too.
See, and isn't that interesting? As I perceive them, I consider Brady a harder worker than I ever thought Rachel Flatt was.
I think Rachel Flatt worked very hard, and she had all those AP classes that they told us about in every article, and Tara Modlin pushed those press things for her.
Those Idaho potato commercials or Colorado potato
I think she was just pushed
commercials?
in our face too much by everyone because we had no one, and it was almost like Skate Canada when they would try to push the ladies who weren't good. That's what kind of happened with Rachel Flatt. I think there were a lot of factors. I think there were a lot of factors why we all viscerally disliked her so much.
Yeah, I would always rather watch Brady than Rachel.
I don't know why. I feel bad for Brady. And I think Rachel's doing good stuff about eating
But what
disorders.
about when Rachel came back in 2014? Kind of did have a change of heart there. Well, she could have changed that narrative.
You know, I loved that music that she skated to, so I forgave everything.
The barber. Yeah, but she also kind of took ownership and became her own person. Mm-hmm. And there was something very endearing about that.
There was. It was, yes. It was always put on her before. But someone told me that skating was more of a hobby for her, that she was really always more into school. And it was perhaps the parents that were really into like becoming the it thing in skating. So it's just an activity for type A personality parents, I think. But anyway, Hoy Deacon, Jonathan, like, no, I don't think I think they're a second to third rate team that we will one day forget even existed. Okay, that's what I really think about them. Yeah. They're not as much of a beautiful disaster as Tarasova and Morozov. They're not like this is, Moskvina making Brady Tennell into the European champion like she's doing with Boykova and Kozlowski. Okay, she is working very hard in an advanced age, but I think she doesn't want to retire ever. I think she wants to be coaching.
Well, and I couldn't help but post that photo because now I'll short shake. First of all, there were several moments in the kiss and cry where I realized she was standing up. She wasn't sitting. And then she was like still like here next to the boy, Boykova, and what's his last name?
Kozlowski. He was still taller than her when she was standing up next to him. Do you know what Moskvina and Moskvin remind me of? As if there's like a St. Petersburg skating mafia, and literally it's as if Igor Moskvin is like in the home and no longer able to, do his duties as the Don, and as if Tamara Moskvina is running the family, okay? Because I think she could, okay?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Our skating club secretary said that she was at an event volunteering, or that someone from the club was, and that Tamara Moskvina didn't even have like her proper credential during the Olympics, and she could walk wherever she wanted to because she is a Russian whatever. Okay, honey?
Oh, and I'm like, because no one noticed her walk past.
No.
Because they were looking up.
But I think of that every time she goes. I'm like, you are so scary and I love you.
Earned it. She made this team that wasn't necessarily on paper a team that should be winning, but their throws were great. They had innovative stuff going on. They knew to hold in an event where everyone was just like falling all over the place on their side-by-side triples. They held their edge forever.
She must really like them, okay? She must really like them because when she really liked Yuko Kawaguchi, who was also a tough watch, I mean, her limbs would fall out. She had those weird dieting issues, like more allergies than Joshua Ferris. And, and she was real limmy and Gumby, and she made them happen. So I think she has a lot of experience making anyone work, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, she found a replacement for Natalia Miskitchunuk and then just hid her behind Dmitriev, throwing his arm up the whole program. It was fine. Okay.
They won.
We just plug them in.
The Olympics.
She tends to do better with less than ideal pairs, because when she had Bereshnaya and Sikora-Litsa, the most beautiful pair that on paper should have been her Gordieva and Grinkov, they were always a flippin' mess. She does better in chaos. So there are people that think that Russians thrive in a little bit of chaos. I think Moskvina thrives with a less than ideal pair, right?
I think that's absolutely right. And they maximized everything they could. The elements, even if not so natural or, the most exciting, they were solid and they did them with integrity.
Look, Tarasa Morozov, also the perfect, beautiful lines like Bereshnaya and Sikora-Litsa, can't get it flipping together. Okay,
it's not happening.
She under-rotated the one triple. It was fall.
The jumps were a mess all over the place. And I have to tell you that lift moment was very scary, but I gained a lot of respect for him because he snapped out of it and really, I thought, having not lifted a woman like that, I thought gave great care to making sure she got down safely as much as he could. And in the slow-mos, you see all of the steps that could have been very, very scary. And I really commend him, I think. Well, her for being quick on her feet and making it happen, but him really in putting her down with ease.
Now, Hot Mateo and Nicole. All right, so...
You had a lot of furry chests in that long.
Well, speaking of that long program, do you know whose music he used? The great Tessa Virtue. That was the beginning of their program. That the Canadians always called it the Latch program, and I was always like, I hated the Latch part. I liked the opening part with that music. It's that Pilgrims on a Journey music.
Right.
You don't remember it at all, but that's okay, Jonathan.
No, I remember that program because I remember the Latch discussion. We had it, yeah.
All right, that was what they were using. Tessa Virtue influencing people left and right, okay? Just saying.
No, they didn't quite skate like Tessa.
They didn't quite skate like Tessa, but they still... Why do they have costumes that look like they were stuck in a 70s roller skating, like bonanza, closet?
Because it seems to follow a formula.
A bad one, right? Like it looks like tacky. It looks like the cheapest material, right? It really looks like it was in some sort of 70s, perhaps, whether it was the Eiscapades or...
Yeah. It's a very Charlie Tickner vibe to it.
It really does. Charlie looked great, okay?
He did. In white, no less, sometimes, those onesies. But this is interesting because I was thinking about this and I thought, Jonathan, are you really so shallow that you just like this team because he's so attractive? And at the end of it, I thought, maybe. Because
he's got that roller skating technique, but it's okay.
Because they don't really have any particular element that provides a wow factor. The lifts are fine.
Should Deanna have stolen him from Nicole? She's like part Italian, right? She could have just...
Yeah, she could have faked it. But I don't know that their results would be any different. But it's interesting. And, with all the injuries and stuff, I feel like we've not even seen them this season, but we have. They just haven't done too well. And it's too bad. They have to switch something. Something has to change for them. I know they were seeing Nina Moser for a while.
What is her talent? Is she just giving us political pull? I do think that Nina Moser helped Ashley Kane get to Worlds. And they didn't even do but I got a lot of text messages from coaches and things who think that the Four Continents thing is a good idea to make the teams go and do that.
Well, because when we filmed our Nationals recap, they had not announced that yet. So again, knowing that great powerhouses in skating like Russia will let Europeans be another great informative part of their decision, it seems such a waste to not use Four Continents in the same way.
Yeah. People seem less offended. I think it offends people more when you make the cutthroat decision and you don't allow, for the skate off or for the result.
There's nothing more backwards to me also than with this argument that, Ashley and Tim did top 10 at Worlds last year. Well, that was last year. This is this year.
I understand why they do it, but there's so much things that happens that the USFS manipulates. They manipulate results.
Jessica and Brian have beaten Ashley and Tim every time they've come up against them this season. So to me, that's the informative part of this season.
well.
So how is there even a question? You're talking about two people. One keeps beating the other one during this season. So why would you send the other one?
I mean, Ashley and Tim did win Zagreb, and they have had they've had 4 years where they've consistently been.
But that's then. This is skating. You're as good as you are now.
I would have them both go to the Europeans and do it again, because at the end of the day, I think we want to see Ashley and Tim, if they can, go out and deliver, and I think we want to make sure that Brian and Jessica
talk about
are ready
making
for prime time.
Four continents is going to matter then.
Yeah.
Because 4 continents, it's taken a while, but it's getting there. Mm-hmm. But for a long time, it really was not on par with Europeans.
Sometimes it was, like when Yuna was competing against Mao and things like that with Joanie Rochette. Those were some...
And for sure, in the dance event, it is.
The Great Nikki Ando, okay? So it was...
Interesting, the way you worded that.
The Queen of Hackensack, okay? You don't even know, all right?
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget the Sandra commentary. I think, was that Vancouver or was that one of the Worlds? When she's like, Miki doesn't care about how the program looks. She herself says she doesn't care if she looks pretty on the ice.
That would,
It rang true.
That was the focus in Hackensack, okay?
Mm-hmm. That remark resembled the truth when she said it. So
earlier today on the phone, Jane goes, Dave, I'm Chinese. We care about the jumps first. Okay. I was like, oh my God. Jane.
And as we learned in the mid-90s from commentators, less so the spins. Yeah.
So Jane can spin, but that's because she's Chinese American. Maybe the mom made her practice the spins when she was doing the boombox with the tapes that Jane would then destroy. But anyway, it was... We'll have to ask her about that.
Yeah, exactly. How did you learn how to spin? Because according to Sandra,
she had a very nice, camel spin. So, I don't know. We're going to have to ask Jane about this. This is...
Okay.
She only went over to train in China for 1 year. Okay, anyway, but Misha was there. So, let's move along. Okay, so...
Okay. So that was Paris.
It was the more of the same. Okay, I think we're getting the narrative. Taras and Morozov, they will likely continue to have their wonderful marriage keep going on and keep entertaining us as we go into this marriage of riches. So, but yes, Moskvina, I worry that she'll even be trying to coach from like 6 feet under. Do her daughters coach? Like, are they going to just take over the family mantle? Like, what is going to happen there? I would like to know.
I just love seeing her there. As long as I can see her over the flowers. I just love seeing her in the kiss and cry.
When she's too old to walk, I would like her in one of those 4-wheeled chairs going into the kiss and cry, and I think it would be fine.
But they've given extra traction so she can even be on the ice with it.
Yes, and I think that she should then make sure that they put a ramp up to the kiss and cry so that, she can be seen. Okay.
And that's how she can work on speed with the pairs, is she'll chase them on the ice in the chair. I think she will make this work for her.
Yes, she reminds me of the great Betty White. I've been watching that documentary of her on Netflix that showed up. Okay. It's not like a Netflix original, but I've been...
Okay.
It's great.
That's an icon also, yeah.
Betty loves...
Like Moskvina, who's been there since skating began. Betty was there when TV began.
Betty loves board games and game shows, and so do I. So...
Same seas, yeah. Okay.
Goodness, okay. And Betty says that she is very good friends, but when they get the Scrabble board out, all friendship is off. And I have to tell you, me and my friend Dawn, when we play Secret Hitler or Taboo, if we're against each other, it could be a friendship ender, okay?
Okay, got it. Good to know.
I've also been playing Risk on the Switch. You could play Risk like in a Super Nintendo type thing. It's game changer, okay?
Okay.
Ruthless. I am ruthless, love playing Risk, okay?
Okay.
Australia is my continent of choice. Okay, I'm just gonna...
Okay.
So you know. All right.
The Dodds brothers, okay.
Yes, I think of the Dodds all the time. I am Peggy Liddick, the Dodds brothers. I'm owning all of the land, okay?
Kalani, okay.
Kalani Crane, so... Oh, we were talking about Kalani the other day. Oh, anyway.
Brooke Lee, the whole gang. Peter Kane.
Peter Kane, all right.
That's right.
Okay, so... Let's go into the ladies. Let's save the dance for last. Okay, so the ladies, Jonathan.
Yes.
I have to say, I was quite smitten by 2 people here.
Okay. Besides the main 3.
I was quite smitten by 2 people here. I mean, I'm always enjoy an Eteri moment. But we've seen the same programs. We've seen the same girls. This looked like another practice.
We've seen the same podium 100 times. Yeah.
We've seen, well, it's sometimes 1 and 2 shift. I remember the nationals. But Ekaterina Ryabova from Azerbaijan, also known as the Angel of Plushenko, and also the girl who had the Azerbaijani flag painted on her nail. I was very...
That's attention to detail.
Is there a term when all of your fingernails are one thing and the one finger is different? Like, what is that called? I mean, I know that it's a thing, but what is it? Because so Jonathan, women will do the thing where all of their nails are one color, except they have like one power nail. It's like it's like an accent wall in a rich person's apartment. Okay.
Okay.
You know how you have a brick accent wall? Other people have an Azerbaijani fingernail. Okay.
Oh, okay. To each his own.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So Ekaterina Ryabova, she is at the Figure Skating Academy of Evgeny Plushenko. I thought that she had some very nice qualities.
Kind of a lovely old school vibe to it, and I mean that in a positive way. The packaging also was a little bit, reminded me of some of the Soviet packaging in the 80s for their ladies with that blue and the black, but I enjoyed it.
Now, Alexander Volkov is listed as her main coach. Plushenko is the second. But I do like her air position. She's quite a good jumper. And she's from Azerbaijan, but she could hang with the Russian ladies. I thought she has some, I don't know. I enjoy anyone from the great country of Azerbaijan.
Her and Alexa Paganini, it was, both of them kind of represented something just a little bit different than what we've been seeing. And it was just kind of a nice breath of fresh air in a way.
I mean, Alexia Paganini, how did we let that get away, Jonathan? She is another one. Imagine if she were at U.S. Nationals and was right in the mix with Brady and Mariah. I mean, iron sharpening iron. There was a whole group of ladies below Mariah Bell who were, like, Karen Chen should not have been winning the pewter at these Nationals. It was not a pewter performance. I mean, right. Alexia could have been
her Lutz toe, that combo in the free was very lovely. I mean, obviously had issues on the next one. She used to struggle
with the Lutz 2 seasons ago.
And this looked quite excellent, I thought.
Yeah.
And the Finnish girl, you had mentioned that you really enjoyed the Finnish girl, and I have to say, I didn't know what to expect, and when I saw it, the packaging was lovely.
I enjoy a beautiful Scandinavian, I have to tell you. Okay,
no kidding, and she is among them. And
the skating skills were lovely. They were
the skating skills. It was the edge work and just the overall artistic sentiment was really quite nice.
Apparently, the synchro coaches in Finland, there was one that was fired who was incredibly abusive. I was hearing about so. I have to ask Kira Korpi for details. She's been on. I knew something was going on, but I can't read Finnish, and we don't have people from Finland that are just sending us.
The most difficult language, of all. Literally, it's considered that, and Hungarian, I think, are considered the most difficult, and they're oddly related somehow. But
and their skaters are always beautiful. What is going on in Finland? Are they all hot and blonde and
their music is some of the best too.
Wonderful skating skills, good music, and guess what about our little friend from Finland over here, Ms. Emmy Peltonen, okay, from Nashville. I had to rewind it 50 times to be like, what did you just say? She's from Nashville, and we lost another one.
She was born in Nashville. I don't know if she was really raised there because obviously the name is very Finnish.
Were they on vacation? This is when we need a fluff piece, okay? I need to know what was she doing in Nashville? Did she ever skate at the Scott Hamilton Academy? Could she?
Can we get her back? Yeah.
Mark Pillay is her choreographer. He did great work. She also was briefly with Raphael at one point in time. When did that happen? We never heard about her. We didn't know her backstory. Was that when she was in Nashville? What is going on with Raphael? When was she hanging out with Rafi? She didn't seem to have very discernible Raphael technique on the jumps, but I loved her version of Caruso, but by one of your least favorite singers, Jackie Evancho.
If you can even call her a singer, bless her heart.
She's from America's Got Talent, right?
Yeah.
Then Vinegar and Salt for the free skate. She was one of my new favorites. I'm looking forward to seeing her at the Worlds.
Really lovely qualities.
Really, I mean, she has really stepped it up. Loved her. I thought the dress on point. Was that Elisa McKinnon? It had enough sparkles to be. So I wasn't sure.
No, maybe Jonathan. It's a Jeff Billings. Why did you bring up that one again?
Frickin' dead. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
why doesn't she call Jeff? Well, Jonathan, I've got news for you.
and do they all have relatives that are ice hockey players? Wasn't Kira Korpi's father an ice hockey coach? And this one, her grandfather.
No, I still love Susanna Rakamo because her dad was the mayor of Helsinki. That was my favorite family.
I love
from a Finnish skater.
Are there like 15 people who live in Finland? I mean, what? I don't know. We all seem. It seems like we get like the real elite that compete in the championships from Finland. They're very sophisticated. They all have that aristocratic chin.
Air about them.
Yes. Yeah. Laura Lepisto, Kira Korpi. She was very
World
beautiful.
bronze medalist.
They always have interesting hairstyles. I'm into all of the random token Finnish girls. Like, they're so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
They're like a little quirky. Trusova is really getting in her head, Jonathan.
So, okay. What do you think it is? Do you think that she is just trying too difficult material?
I think she's very driven.
All three seem very tired.
Yes. And I think this is the championship where they tried to get up after the nationals.
It's too, no matter who you are, this is supposed to be a downtime before. And I don't know.
It has to be because think about how long the Russians were going for. They started with their test skates, then the 2 senior Bs that they all took very seriously. 1 to 2 senior Bs before,
the Grand Prix, and then the Grand Prix final, and then nationals, and then I mean,
it was only 1 senior B, but anyway, it's a long period of time. Every 2 to 3 weeks, they are all competing again and again and again, and adding
that
more
outrageously difficult material all of the time, and you know that these girls train hard,
and they're always against each other pushing. They don't get an easy Jason Brown, let's be 7th at our second Grand Prix. That is not happening here. Every single one they're trying to build. It's like ice dance off the last performance. I just think the wheels are coming off the bus. I mean, to see
all of them.
To see Kosternaya miss the Lutz in the end of the program, and it just seemed like it was a tired mental mistake. Like just something that she would not allow to happen at the World Championships, but good to happen here.
Just seemed burnout from all three of them. There were just signs of burnout happening. I think
Sherbakova's quad flip much better here than it was earlier at the championship. I know people have a lot of failings on their technique on their quads, but better here than at the last one. Trusova,
but then
the double axel in the short looks like she's been planning the triple or wanting to do the triple and kind of overthrew. But really, her skating is so lacking in terms of the artistic quality, and it just seems like she's just practicing the jumps constantly, drill sergeant E. But interesting that we all viewed her as the mentally tough one and the physically tough one, and she's the one having the most.
Because tell me this, I kind of was and I'm going to use the word afraid. I was sort of afraid at the beginning of the season that she was going to kind of run away with the whole season.
We all were. Thank goodness for Kosternaya.
And Anna, who is a lovely skater. Truly, in addition to all of those incredible jumps, she has lovely qualities. And it's interesting.
I just wish that we got to see more of the lovely qualities, that the program wasn't so cram-packed with jumps and big jumps that it's all like jump drillish with some gimmicks thrown in. And I really want her just to turn out the foot. Just learn, Anna, over the summer. I know you're doing all the quads, so we don't need new spin positions or anything, but if you could just, turn your toe out in your camel spin, it would make us all so happy.
Take a moment. Yeah, and we'll go with you. Because she does have a musical sensibility about her. She has a gentle quality. And seeing her live at Skate America made me like her more, not less.
And she wants it. She's a tiger.
And that quad lutz, pre-rotation this, whatever, technique, the loop technique, whatever you want to talk about. But she does it, and it kind of really does have an impact, especially in person.
And it's not going away. All the Russians are now teaching this technique, and everyone's trying to copy it. At the Ice House, you'll get 50 different coaches trying to teach you this.
But why would they not?
Emily Alakar got a double Lutz rotated now that she does the technique like this. So.
Well, there you go. I mean, whether it's ideal in the big picture, but right now there's no problem with it. So why wouldn't they?
The Russians are in charge of the ISU. It's not going anywhere, honeys. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. If they can get throw quads out, they can let this loop technique in.
Yeah. So. Listen, they are very powerful. Okay. Alla is doing all of the good work, Jonathan.
We'll get there. But wait, now, so how do you think that this competition in any way set up anything for Worlds?
I think Kosternaya is the favorite. The overwhelming favorite for the gold.
Yeah.
I think that Sherbakova is the overwhelming favorite to be the challenger. And I think that Trusova is hell-bent on upsetting both of them. And I think that these girls are starting to dislike each other.
Okay.
At least some of them. I'm getting the vibe that they would have to. They are, like, whether or not it's just when they're competing, to have that. I'm not saying they dislike each other as people, but they are competitors at this point. This is phenomenal. So I'm excited to see the fireworks at the World Championships between them. So
yeah, and there will be some.
There will be a ton. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the dance event because this was really the moment. I did a little video on it after the rhythm dance.
Yes, you did.
I want to say we just looked at what was up. We looked at some old friends who were on the judging panel, and so keeping it real.
Mm-hmm. You called it years in advance.
Marie-France plays politics. Julien plays politics. Russia plays politics like no one's business. But when Sinitsyn and Katsalapov were so low at the Grand Prix final, and then you look at the panel at Europeans, Marie-France was in for it. She was in for it. Okay, everyone has their day, and people were wondering when the Russians were going to try to make the move with Sinitsyn and Katsalapov. But even in the press, you could kind of start to realize that they were maneuvering. They were getting ready, right?
We're going to talk about this because I watched your video, which I thought was so excellent today. And I have to tell you, the most upsetting, we know in ice dance more than anything. I think everyone also always thinks things are happening with judges that, given the judges that we know and have talked to, some stuff kind of happens, just try to sway, but it's not as overtly corrupt, I think, as some people think it is or can be.
Are you talking about singles or dance?
Singles.
Okay.
But we do know that this has to happen in dance because it's so subjective and hardly anyone
How did Alla wind up on the singles panel? Alla was always the Russian dance judge. She was not the Russian singles judge, but then they put her...
You know what? But you know what took me to the darkest place of your video was Besmianova's comments.
Oh, let's go there.
Those, and I'm not...
You don't get offended easily at every little thing. So.
I don't, and especially about kind of gay stuff. I'm not maybe as active as I should be, or as, I don't know.
But did you read into it what I read into it? Because to me, that
I
was
read
weird.
into it, and it was disgusting, and it was dark, and it was sad, and especially for someone to be so overtly homophobic when they themselves dress like a drag queen on top of their Olympic podium in '88. I was like, you better watch your mouth, Natalia. Because I'm a big fan of her son's skating, even if I thought hers was dreadful. But
that's not her son. That's his son.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you know I'm an idiot? I thought it was Besmianova and Buchan's son.
It's Buchan's son. She's married to Igor Bobrin, and she stole him from his other wife. And they're very open about it in Russia. They like to bring it up all the time.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains how Buchan is still so good looking.
Yeah.
Because this was toxic. This was
apparently
disgusting.
I spoke too quickly with too many Russian names. People were like, whoa. Other people tuned in for this that don't usually tune in. So I need to introduce the characters. I don't think anyone knew who Natalia Besmianova was, because I don't think everyone is watching 80s ice dance like we were. So for us, we were just like, her, right? Like
Silver 84, gold 88.
People thought I was talking about Tarasova making the homophobic comment. It was not Tarasova who made it. It was Natalia Besmianova, whatever how you pronounce her name. Never could tell. We're kind of a Russian.
You know what? Not worth it to learn it now. I just thought it was, even if you think that the French are overscored. Also, right now, I'll just say, Virtue Moyer fans, please calm down. Just calm down. This is not about them right now. But no matter if you think they're overscored, if you think there's too much attention on the Marie-France style, there are better ways to say that. And I watch Guillaume skating, and I've even heard some self-hating gays talk about how they think he's effeminate on the ice, and I'm sorry.
I don't really see it. He reminds me of like a male ballet dancer. I know what they're referring to because he's so fluid.
He moves beautifully and fluid. He's not making out with a man on stage. He's not prancing around in a dress. Like, he is holding her. He's
like a gazelle. He's athletically graceful. You know,
he's beautiful. He's dancing on the ice. You know, it's not fake bravado all over the place like we see in some others. But I found
it's also authentic. It's not like he's not putting it on like Johnny Weir would put a little extra sometimes when he would skate.
Yeah. And then the Russians go for that. And you're like, but that's fake. That's kitsch. Like, what are you doing?
Because Johnny, when he does his shows now, puts on some kitsch. You know, like Johnny can...
And they're there for it. That's what's so confusing.
Well,
I find Lashenko putting on, like, a fake bodysuit and, like, doing sexy moves far more absurd and ridiculous than
Don't talk to the Russians about their Speedos. They're very masculine, and they're here for them. Okay? Okay.
But, I mean, and they have beautifully artistic, like when we were talking about Artur and...
but she was making a comment about the other team, too. Listen.
Yeah.
I didn't know that same-sex couples were an epidemic. I didn't know. I didn't know that this
Not since Jutta Muller in her same-sex pairs team.
But when Bespianova, just like from her comments, I was like, oh.
Not the way to do it. Not the way to do it.
She went there.
And I mean, as if I couldn't respect her any less, I certainly do.
Well, she did have that awful original dance at the Olympics. And also, that free dance was very uninspired in 88. It was probably
it was favorite. Garish. It was garish.
Yeah.
Ugh. And
it was just over the top to be over the... it was... She did things with makeup we didn't even know were possible. I remember when I first saw her in like the Beverly Smith skating book as a kid. I'm like, who is that? You know, like what is
the scary gold print? I had that Evolution of Ice Dance book that's like an encyclopedia from like the 50s to the 90s or something like that. And the pictures they have of her in there, I mean, it's like Amy Sedaris in Strangers with Candy. She looks like Jerry Blank half the time.
Yes. Oh my goodness. But yeah.
Dark comments.
Dark comments. And you knew it. It's just, you kind of can see where it's going. So for those of you who don't know about Alla, all right, she is the most infamous judge in all the land. In that Elena Vaitsahovskaya article about how, from her book, it's the excerpt about how Grishik and Platov won the gold medal in Lillehammer and how Natalia Linachuk orchestrated it. Natalia Linachuk, also a fascinating figure. Natalia Linachuk was one of the first ones when Russia opened up to take teams from every single country so that she would get a judge on the panel from every single country. And she was one of the first ones who really did that.
Brilliant. A pioneer braver in a corrupt way, but good thinking.
Julien and Marie-France and Igor all do this now.
Still follow the pattern she set then.
She was game-changing in terms of that, okay? Her husband was more of the technician, but Natalia Linachuk was the politician and got it done, okay?
Because now, as much as we've done 94 footage, you and I, we have not judged that dance event together.
That's one for the off-season, too.
Were you a Maya Usova fan, or were you thinking it was a Jane Torvald day?
Okay, so I liked Torvald and Dean, but
I did too.
Remember, they had those weird rules, and I wonder how those got passed, where, remember, they weren't allowed to do a dramatic free dance, and dramatic was Usova and Zulin's style. So they wound up having to go into, remember, it had the...
They did cutesy that year.
Remember, all the free dances had to be kind of cutesy and up-tempo.
Right.
Someone was orchestrating that behind the scenes, too, Jonathan. Okay, that...
Right. To knock down Julien.
Yes.
But really also Torvald and Dean, yeah. But,
they were not going to give it to them. Are you kidding? They loved doing it. Natalia was that... It's probably one of the happiest moments of her life. Okay.
In the Torvald and Dean documentary that followed in that season, I love what they said when they turned, and they're like, well, if they just wanted a show program, we could have just done a show program.
I know, and the Russians will tell you that Torvald and Dean deserve to be 11th in the compulsory dance. That's what they'll do. They flip it that way. They do. It's what they do in all their articles. I've looked into this. So anyway, So Alla Shekhovtsova. She is the wife of Valentin Paseyev, the longtime head of the Russian Figure Skating Federation.
She's a fan of a weave.
She really is. She's got glasses, a long braid. She was the judge who hugged Sotnikova at the 2014 Olympic Games.
Moment of honesty. I don't find that as controversial as everyone else does.
It was
Judy Bloomberg would have hugged Maya Shibutani if she won.
She did the good work for them for years. Okay,
I know.
But Alla is always on the judging panel at the Olympic Games, and she is doing all of the good work. She was the Russian judge during the 1998 Olympic Games, the 1998 Olympic Games in Nagano, when there was block judging, and the judges, Alla was one of them, five judges ranked all of the competitors to the same ordinal throughout every portion of the competition. And they got away with it. And it was just a huge farce that happened at the Olympics. And it's really impossible to even know what the results should have been from that competition. Because when you go back and everything is so fake, you're like, it's a gaslighting of the highest level. So,
right.
What were you
saying? And you made a really good point in your video where you're saying the dangerous part about her is she knows how to be more subtle about it.
Yes.
Because we see when some teams are being blatantly judged by their home country, but she's a bit more maneuvery.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They've got friends and all the power.
And they're doing it with such subtlety, such small number variances. Whereas, when I went back and looked at some of the charts and you'd see, someone had the Italians way up, someone had I like all of these things completely out of whack. That's so obvious. But again, it's when it's subtle that it's the most dangerous.
Oh, and the Russians know how to do mathematics because remember, Lakernik, who is the highest ranking figure skating official in the ISU, is a statistician. So they major in how to manipulate the IJS. And it's why they're so freaking brilliant at it.
Right.
Don't hate the player, the game.
And this is more.
It's why they did whenever they have adjusted the numbers, what a certain element is worth, and it always is not just because the Russians tend to get it so that they recalibrate things to their advantage. Like how much this is worth relative to that. Like they are playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. And the rest of us are like, yes, we should weigh the quad more. Yes. But it's always, they're doing other things. You're like, whoa, okay.
Right. Totally.
Amazing. Okay. It's incredible.
And the thing that was really the giveaway here was, of course, the time it took to get those French scores. That was so obvious.
And also Judy was the caller. And we don't know, was it the caller that took a long time? Were it the judges that took a long time? What was the delay? How come there aren't a million articles about this coming out? But Judy has her own opinions, and she likes to make her mark, too. And I wouldn't say that she's Marie-France's back pocket by any means. You never know which way Judy's going to go. She's her own. Does she like Marie-France? Does she not? You don't know. But Judy always... How come every time Judy is the caller, something out of the ordinary happens?
Which I kind of would stand by if I felt like a Vanessa Riley.
She does. She is like that, where she has her own point of view. But you have to remember, Judy feels she was wronged in ice dance, and that
she was. In my opinion, she was.
But she comes from that point of view, so she tends to make her stamp on the event.
Which it's really interesting because
now Marie-France needs to kiss her behind from now on.
But weren't you saying, was it also Besmianova that was saying only skaters should judge skating?
She was.
A kiss of death for anything. We've even received the comments like, unless you're a competitive skater, you're not allowed to say anything. Well, then your sport is insular and dead, right on arrival. But this happens in vocal competitions. Mm-hmm. There would be things where sometimes you want singers on the panel because they understand and identify. They kind of get a bit more than like a generic conductor or administrator. Mm-hmm. But every singer that has ever judged me is bringing their own baggage. Mm-hmm. And just like you described with Judy, it's going to be hard for a former skater to check all their baggage at the door about their own experiences and be able to be completely
Now,
unbiased.
you would think that Judy would have a bone to pick with the Russians because they always felt, the old school felt that the Russians didn't have the proper technique. But you have to wonder, does she like the French? Does she not like the French? Does it bother her that they're always scored so high? Because it could. There might be things about the French skating she doesn't like. Now, I was talking...
Because it's interesting, but she was an artist. Like
she was an artist, or Michael was the creative force, and Judy...
Well, but they were a team that had an artistic integrity to them. So one would think that she'd be siding with teams that were really trying to make bold artistic statements.
But she may not like the French. I mean, look, she was very tied to Marina and Igor for years with the Shibutanis, with Meryl and Charlie, with Virtue and Moyer, that style of skating. I'm sure she looked at Virtue and Moyer's stuff when you're there, okay? But I would just wonder, who knows what she thinks. She definitely has an opinion, regardless. But the judges certainly made their due, and they certainly did it so that when the French were only this much ahead after the rhythm dance, and the Russians always do this. They manipulate the short program results because everyone focuses on the free skate with Yuna and stuff, and all of the really egregious calls, a lot of them were done in the short program. They got Sotnikova in the place she needed to be to overtake her in the free. They figure out how far ahead you need to be, and they make their move really in the short program. But it's subtle. Remember, she was not leading. And neither were the Russians here. But psychologically, Gabby and Guillaume were thrown by that. They really were, and you could tell it in the free dance. They were used to winning all of the time, and it would cause it. And we also have read that Gabby has suffered from anxiety in recent months. There was an article about that in the French press. But it's interesting to me that they know psychologically how to deal with people like that. They're playing way bigger games than you could imagine. And the way you know something is up is because how come whenever it's a Marie-France panel, Smart and Diaz are ahead of the
Hurtado. Yeah.
Of Hurtado. But whenever it's a Julin panel, like at Zagreb last year, Hurtado wins. I'm not
or
saying,
Europeans this year. Yeah.
But like, who even knows who's better at this point? Because the panels are rarely
just watching.
Yeah. But I do think it's interesting what will happen at Worlds, because I was hearing that the Worlds panel is more swayed to Marie-France. There was talk and chatter that Didier was even spouting off at the press conference saying that, you won't have this panel. You've poked a bear who's willing to make moves. But
they must have felt that really happened. This all seemed revenge moves from the Grand Prix final.
Now, these are revenge moves from decades. This is like mafia level shit. Okay,
did you find the placement at the Grand Prix final that outrageous?
I think it.
Aside from loving Marie-France, which I think
it was bold to do to a Russian team.
To that Russian team, because
we tend to not play bold with the Russians like that, okay? Because this is what
happens. Yeah, and it's interesting because for so long
it's like when the Democrats get a majority in the Senate, that's going to be gone in 2 years. It's never going to last, right? It's like poking a bear, okay?
Right. Well, and the interesting thing is, for a while, you knew that the theme was just get some Russian team back. Mm-hmm. And they almost, for one season, they could have made a move, but they almost couldn't decide which team to make it with. And so they kind of lost 1 year until last season. They really organized it and were able to throw Nikita in the silver medal position. But it seems it's difficult. It's really difficult.
7th and 8th, the fact that they're fighting over the Spanish teams is so silly at the end of honestly, Hurtado and Diaz should just get back together. But that's neither here nor there.
Don't you think? And I will tell you what, Sarah Hurtado in that pink dress and the free dance, I about fell on the floor. She's the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen.
I know.
Best dressed woman of the season, I think. But,
and Julin had the Ukrainian judge and that was the one that judged the Olympics without ever having judged a previous event. I mean, and her mother was on the technical committee for ice dance.
Now, there was something interesting you were talking about in your video, that the scuttlebutt was that the judges were informed to maybe not just automatically be handing out 10s here.
And the only judges that gave 10s were France and Russia.
who are both very France, just as, even though I happen to agree that the French team is better here,
France wasn't subtle about their cheating.
They're not subtle about it, and you're going to get in trouble.
It's like it's like when the Canadian judge would throw Elvis the 6 for artistic, and everyone was like,
"You're like, come on now, come on, don't be ridiculous." Like,
maybe a 6 for technical, even though
even though, yeah, gosh, I just don't know. What was I saying? They were so obvious about cheating, France and Russia. I think I lost it.
But it was very obvious here. So
yeah.
I'm sure that, but I will say that I was talking to Igor Lukanen about this, and he felt, look, the French have largely done the same style for 6 seasons without doing a big change. Wait, let me finish.
I'm sick of that argument.
No, I'm not, and I have already anticipated your argument, and I'm going to go here.
Okay.
But for 6 years, if you do something in the same vein, because before they went to Marie-France, they took more risks with their material in the free dance.
And the judges wouldn't go with them.
Not always. They were medalists at the Junior Worlds, and this is before, and they're better skaters now, and they could do more things. But they do something in the same. Now, ironically, Cizeron and Katsalapov have also had the same theme for 3 years. But
bingo.
But Papadakis and Cizeron, what I will say is, I do think that next year they should take a risk to shut everyone up, even if they're just going to go back to a lyrical contemporary style for the Olympics. But I do think that it allows people to start, even if the skating is better than everyone else, it allows people to start talking some trash about you. I do think they've taken more risks in the rhythm dance, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Okay, even though now we're back to this whole Virtue Moyer thing, where I was like, is your criticism here actually that they're doing the same thing? Or are you just looking to make sure that there's distance between them and Virtue and Moyer? Which I understood, because Virtue and Moyer were far superior technically. But they were doing some different things. For goodness sakes, they're doing an 80s aerobics routine and a rhythm dance, and they're doing spoken monologue dramatic reenactments. This is so not a Mozart lyrical program. This is so not. I mean,
we're talking about the same style of movement in the body,
So my question is, what is it people are looking for? And show me another top-level team that is doing something completely different in their physical vocabulary.
Well, I do think that with Tessa and Scott, you could say they did Carmen, which was very different than when they did the Seasons, which is different than when, they did the Samba program.
They didn't win with Carmen, even though I happen to think Carmen was one of their best programs.
Listen, there was so much politics going on between Canada and the U.S.
Well,
and don't think Canada and the U.S. are not trying to make moves too, because they do, but not as overtly and not with the same backing. Sometimes,
because even as much as I love Piper and Gillett,
the U.S. and Canada got tired of losing. Just know that they got tired of losing and made moves too. Okay, but
who?
Canada and the U.S. for sure.
Oh, yeah. But I mean,
people talk about some of those wins, okay, for both countries. So,
Piper and Paul, though, even in their doing different things, they're almost the same and always doing that different thing.
So, what do you think? Before we get into this,
but I like them. I don't.
With Cizeron and Katsalapov, I wonder here, now that they won, do they have to be on the podium at Worlds? Because if they don't get on the podium at Worlds, at the end of the day, I do think that Russia accomplished what they needed to with doing the win here, because if you go that you have them not on the podium at the Grand Prix final, winning the Europeans, not on the podium at the World Championships, people will say that the entire sport of ice dance is rigged and a crock and should be thrown out. And that is something that I think the ISU will not want to do. Now, if you have it just that Papadakis and Cizeron beat the Russians, and then you have like Madison Chock as a bronze medalist, I think everyone shuts their mouths and moves along. Except maybe the Canadians that will whine that Piper and Paul aren't on the podium at home Worlds. So, will Piper and Paul have to get put on the podium at Worlds? I don't know. That's an interesting kind of maneuvering that's going to happen, and that makes ice dance interesting. You know, it's...
I mean, it's the problem is, I don't mind Nikita's skating. Like, obviously there's merit to it, but where it's getting ridiculous.
It was
and
very
this
sloppy.
is back to that idea when they were saying, don't just go tens all the time. I can't imagine in singles anyone consistently, even Hanyu, you know what I mean? It's not so blatant. You're hitting the ceiling too often, too frequently with too many skaters. The numbers are just too high. And I do agree with like, okay, let's everybody like take a step back and just kind of put this back in perspective. But their performance was not honest, and it was put on. And they're skating to songs my mother taught me, which should be sentimental and nostalgic, and they're like jazz handsy, like, you know, mugging for the camera and stuff. And it's not...
Oddly, Julien does not produce great material when he's doing for teams other than himself. Do you ever notice? Like, he and Usova had the best material.
And it was dramatic, and it was intense, and it was honest. Even when we did that pro thing and they were in the hoods, they weren't doing hoods to be avant-garde. They believed that they needed to be in those hoods and do a thing, and I was with them. This seems all put on.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like he's trying to mask a gimmick for this team and their style. It doesn't seem to be really authentic.
And talk about the same. They've been the same forever.
I do think that it's a little sloppy. Victoria made... because the commentator was so poor here. This is why you need educated commentators. People think, oh, I like when they don't talk in the program. No, you do need someone to point out, like when she trips, the French had little things, especially on their side-by-side steps. But I will say that the French actually made a lot of changes to the free dance so that it's not all one level. You know, the movement was different, and where they, in the patterns that they were doing and the actual choreography, they made adjustments here, and especially
when the ending seemed dramatic in a different way, where I almost wondered if there was a different kind of takeaway from the story where he would almost like convulse and collapse towards the end. It was a bit more revved up, I thought.
And I thought that the rotational lift was so out of this world here. So I do think that they made moves, and I think that they will hopefully continue to push the program, and hopefully this makes them even work 10,000 times harder, and it certainly prevents them from risking getting complacent as they do, because an angry French person, I think, is something that you don't want either. Okay, but I think that they did make some real changes to the program. But yeah, what a not subtle when you're waiting that long for...
It was like 10 minutes. I mean, it was insanity.
Yeah.
So
I know.
And looking at, again, stalking skatingscores.com all the time, they were showing the judges tally, and 4 had the French in first, but then some people had...
and they were waiting for judges to enter the scores, is what it sounded like.
And some people had Nikita in third, some people had him low, you know, I mean, it was, when it's that... It was interesting, like when you went to the ladies' event and the men's event, it was so, everyone was basically in agreement, with some slight variations, but this was just so scattered.
And I do have to say that I really felt for the Italians, because the Italians took the ice after the French thinking that you have your normal amount of time where you're revved up and you're ready to go. When it lasts that long, and you don't know it's going to last 8 minutes, right? So it could be over at any moment.
It could be any second now. Yeah.
It could be any second now that it starts to move. That has to be emotionally draining. The adrenaline is pumping. It's getting the nerves are going, and you're out there, and you don't know. It's not like Barbara can be saying, "Just hold up. We're gonna,
It's going to take us time. Just do a couple laps. Don't worry about it." Yeah.
They are revved up and ready to go,
But if we're being totally honest, do you think that waiting affected their performance? And do you think there was anything in their performance they could have done or didn't do?
I felt their performance was flat at the end of the day.
But I think even if they had delivered it, it was going to be a tough ask to get bronze.
I mean, I think that they weren't set up to win bronze here based on this panel.
Yeah. And I
think it's unfair to them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's no way, because what do you do at that point? You can't go warm up again. They've been warming up for the last 8 minutes. So
right.
I felt very unfortunate for them because,
yeah.
I mean,
But they strike me as another, like, do everything you can. Mm-hmm. And I think Barbara is clearly an outstanding coach. Mm-hmm. And they've got a great look. They're maximizing everything they can. I think, again, there's limitations to how far they can go and the things they can achieve, but they're doing the best they can with the ability they have.
Yeah.
So.
What did you think about all of our good friend Alla and the shenanigans at the European Show? What was your moment of the Europeans? I mean...
come on. Dimitri.
I have to say
seeing Dimitri cry, it was like something so beautiful because, like, I pretend I identify with him and all this sort of stuff. So to see that release and see the joy and, like, see that kind of artist soul just, like, on his sleeve after a performance like that was a real thing for me.
I have to say that even though there were great performances at the Europeans, I do think that the 8 minutes that the French waited for their scores, regardless of taking the result out of it, I think the whole thing just left a stain of corruption and a bad odor on the judging of the event. And I think that it just overwhelmed the Europeans, for me, are going to be remembered as the type where Alla went to work and it was just
it's
dirty
too bad
result.
Because it took away from some very cool things. It was thrilling that Boykova was able to accomplish what she did in the pairs. It was thrilling that Dimitri was able to throw that down, and Artur did as well as he did. But all of it is completely gone.
It was completely just
erased. Yeah.
So, well, what did you think about the event? We want to know. Leave your comments below. Hold an edge. Hold an edge. It looks sexy. Bye, guys.